Her smirk still haunts me. It wasn't the words she said that broke me. It was the way she said them, like a dagger wrapped in silk. "Tonight," she began, pausing as she slipped on her red heels like it was a ritual, "I'm going to a party at my ex-husband's place." Then she smirked. Not the kind that hides something. The kind that flaunts it. "My name's Nathan. I'm 38, been married for 6 years, and up until that night, I believed in loyalty, in promises, in shared Netflix passwords, and whispered goodnights. I believed in her. Madison, or as I now call her, the queen of betrayal in red stilettos. She didn't even try to lie this time. No fake girls' night out. No cousin's birthday party. She wanted me to know. She wanted it to sting. I stood there, towel around my waist, fresh out the shower, watching her apply lipstick like she was preparing for war. "Are you serious right now?" I asked, my voice a mix of disbelief and rage. She glanced over her shoulder, mascara wand in hand. "It's just a party, Nate. Don't be so dramatic." But here's the thing. That night wasn't the beginning. It was the crack that let the flood in. Because something in her tone, in that smirk, screamed there's more. And I knew. Instinct isn't just a myth men use to justify gut feelings. It's real. And mine was screaming like a siren. Let me rewind a bit. 2 weeks prior, Madison started coming home late. Said her new job had her on campaign events and networking mixers. She smelled like hotel shampoo and someone else's cologne. When I asked, she said, "Oh, please. It's probably from the Uber driver. Stop being paranoid." She stopped wearing her ring. Her phone never left her hand. And when she laughed at her messages, it wasn't the laugh I knew. It was flirty, sinister, the kind that echoes down a dark hallway and makes your stomach drop. I caught her once, texting someone named Danny. "Who's Danny?" I asked. "Just a guy from work." Chill. That's what she said as she erased their messages right in front of me. So when she said she was going to a party at her ex-husband's place, it wasn't just disrespect. It was a declaration, a slap, a challenge. And I accepted it. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't ask her to stay. I simply said, "Cool. Have fun." And while she left in a black dress that should have been illegal, I sat down at my laptop and logged into the backup ID system I once installed on her phone, back when we were building trust, not breaking it. I had forgotten it existed until that moment. The truth, they say, sets you free. But in my case, it nearly killed me. Photos, videos, messages that made my blood turn to concrete. Her ex? He wasn't the only one. There was a Tyler from the gym, a Chris from her book club, even a Zach, our goddamn neighbor. The same Zach who always offered to mow our lawn when I was traveling for work. The worst part? She wasn't ashamed. In those videos, she laughed. She whispered things in their ears that she never said to me, even on our wedding night. They touched her in ways I didn't recognize. She was alive with them, unfiltered, wild. And here I was, the husband, left with scraps. I sat in the dark, watching frame after frame, message after message, a whole alternate life she lived outside our walls. The betrayal wasn't physical. It was spiritual. She gave them a version of herself I never got. I heard the garage open. Her car pulled in. I didn't speak. She walked in humming, heels in her hand, lipstick smeared, a glow on her face that no amount of yoga could explain. She saw me on the couch. "Oh, you're still up?" She tossed her purse like she owned the place. "I told you it was just a party." I smiled, because I had already set the trap. And tomorrow, she'd find out just how much I knew. She walked past me like I was furniture. No kiss, no glance, not even a "how was your night?" Just that same smug aura she wore lately, like she'd won something I didn't know we were competing for. I didn't respond, didn't stand up, just sat there with my hands folded, watching her pour herself a glass of wine like nothing happened. She leaned against the counter, took a sip, and finally looked at me. "What?" she said, voice bored. I tilted my head slightly. "You look satisfied." She smiled lazily. "Why wouldn't I be? I had a good time. Caught up with some old friends." My eyes didn't leave hers. I didn't blink. "You mean your ex-husband's lips?" She didn't flinch. That was the part that hit hardest. Instead, she rolled her eyes and walked toward the hallway. "You're being dramatic again, Nate. This is why I can't talk to you anymore." I stood up then. Slow. Calm. "You think I'm stupid?" That stopped her. Barely. She turned slightly, just enough to throw her voice back. "No. I think you're insecure." I chuckled. A real one. The kind that's sharp on the edges. I saw everything. She paused. I could see her spine stiffen, like a switch flicked in her brain. Still, she played dumb. Always had a backup lie ready. What do you mean, everything? Videos. Messages. Zach. Tyler. Chris. Your ex-husband. Now she turned fully. Her face dropped just enough to show a flicker of panic, then reset. You had no right. There it was. The default move. Ignore the cheating, attack the method. No right. I took a step closer. I gave you 6 years of loyalty. I turned down job offers to stay near you. I buried my instincts every time you smiled at your phone like it whispered sweeter things than I ever could. And you tell me I had no right. She crossed her arms, jaw tight. You don't own me. No, I said, voice lowering. I never did. And clearly, I never even rented your respect. For a moment, silence. Just the sound of the fridge humming and her breath coming out a little too quick. Then she laughed. Softly. A bitter, mean little thing. You know what your problem is, Nate? You're boring. Predictable. You thought putting a ring on me meant you'd keep me. Newsflash, you never had me. I could feel it. The anger, the ache, the betrayal boiling behind my ribs. But I didn't explode. I didn't scream. I just stared at her. At this stranger I once promised forever to. Is that what you tell yourself? That it's my fault you spread your legs for half the zip code? She flinched then, not from the words, but from the venom in them. She stepped closer, eyes blazing. You want to know the truth? You couldn't keep me satisfied. Emotionally, physically, mentally, none of it. You were a pit stop. A placeholder. I nodded slowly. And you? You were the lesson. I walked past her, straight to the drawer in the hallway, pulled out the envelope I'd prepared hours earlier. Photos. Printouts. A full dossier of betrayal. I tossed it on the counter. Here's what's going to happen, I said, turning to her. I'm done. You can have your parties, your exes, your neighbor with the lawnmower fetish. I'm out. The house. Selling it. My lawyer will call yours tomorrow. I've already moved half my stuff to a rental. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. She didn't expect this. She thought I'd scream, cry, maybe beg. But silence. Steady rage? That rattled her. You don't mean this, she said finally. I looked at her. Really looked. At the woman I once called home. And I said, I never meant anything more in my life. Then I walked out. But the story doesn't end there. Not yet. Because bitches like Madison? They don't go down without dragging someone with them. And I wasn't done bleeding. Not yet. The next morning, I expected silence. Instead, I woke up to 37 missed calls. 17 from Madison. 12 from her sister. And the rest? Unknown numbers. I knew the storm had hit. When I finally picked up, it wasn't Madison. It was Zach. Yeah, that's Zach. The lawnmower Casanova himself. Nate, he said, voice low like he was calling from a confessional booth. Bro, I didn't know she was still with you. I didn't say a word. I thought you guys were split up, man. She said you were staying with a cousin or some. I hung up. I wasn't interested in apologies from a man who plowed my wife while trimming hedges and borrowing my goddamn drill. I grabbed my keys, slid on my hoodie, and headed out. I needed air. Noise. Something to drown out the images in my head. Her smirk, her words, her voice when she laughed at their messages like I was the joke. Because that's what this was. A long-running sitcom with me as the clueless idiot. Halfway to the coffee shop, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message. From a number I didn't recognize. You don't know everything. Ask her about Danny. Ask her about the lake house. I stopped walking. Danny. The name from her phone. The one she brushed off like lint. And the lake house? We didn't have a lake house. But her ex did. I turned around, went back to the rental, pulled out my laptop, and started digging. Emails. Bank statements. GPS history. You don't spend 6 years with someone without leaving breadcrumbs. She wasn't just careless, she was arrogant. There were receipts for Airbnb stays, Uber drop-offs miles from where she said she'd be, and one gem of a confirmation email from 3 months ago. Thanks for booking Lakeview Retreat for 2. I couldn't breathe. That weekend, she told me she went to a branding workshop with her company. She even brought back a notepad with fake scribbles and a branded water bottle. She planned the lie down to the detail. I stared at the screen, the edges of my vision going blurry, and for a second, I wanted to smash the laptop into the wall. But I didn't. Instead, I drove. 3 hours to that lake house. I didn't even call. I didn't care if she was there or not. I needed to see it. And sure enough, her car was parked out front. The same red coupe I bought her last anniversary. I pulled up slowly, stepped out, walked across the gravel like I belonged there. Inside, I could hear voices. Muffled, low, and then laughter. I didn't knock. I pushed the door open and stepped into a slice of hell. There she was, Madison, wearing the same damn robe I'd bought her on our honeymoon. And next to her, shirtless, smug, was Danny, some muscle-bound moron with tribal tattoos and the IQ of a grapefruit. They froze. She jumped up, face pale, mouth slightly open like she forgot how to breathe. Nate, what the hell are you doing here? I looked around. At the wine glasses, the still steaming mugs of coffee, the open suitcase on the couch. I should ask you that, I said dead calm. Danny stood up, puffing his chest like a dog in a cage. Man, you need to bounce. I didn't look at him. My eyes never left her. You lied to me, I said. Again, and again, and again. Madison tried to put on her mask, the manipulator's face. The tears came fast, forced, fake, pathetic. It's not what you think. That made me laugh. I stepped back toward the door. No, it's exactly what I think. She reached out, grabbing my wrist. Nate, wait. Don't leave like this. We need to talk. I shook her off. You had a dozen chances to talk. You used every one of them to lie. She followed me out, yelling now, voice cracking, trying every trick in the book. Guilt, charm, panic. I didn't turn around, because in that moment, something inside me snapped for good. The part of me that loved her? Dead. The part that trusted her? Ashes. And the part that ever wanted to fix this? Buried 6 feet under. I got in the car and drove. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt free. But Madison? She wasn't done. She never is. 2 days later, I was back in the city, sorting through the wreckage of my life like a man sifting through a burned-down house, looking for anything that hadn't turned to ash. I moved into a small apartment. Nothing fancy, just walls and silence. Silence, I thought, was better than fake moans and whispered lies in the dark. I didn't tell anyone what happened. Not yet. My brother Jay kept calling, asking why I missed his kid's birthday. I told him I was sick. He didn't press, but I knew I couldn't hold it in forever. People would find out, and I didn't care anymore. Let them. What I didn't expect was Madison showing up at my office. She walked in like she still had a place in my life, in a tight black dress, hair done like she was going on a date, not showing up to beg for mercy. Or maybe not beg. Knowing her, probably manipulate. I was in the middle of a meeting with my assistant when the receptionist buzzed me. Your wife is here. Ex-wife. I corrected her silently. I stepped into the hallway, saw Madison standing there like a movie villain, calm, collected, holding a folder in her hand like it contained terms of surrender. I need to talk to you, she said, eyes wide with artificial sadness. You're not supposed to be here, I replied. I told you I'd contact my lawyer. I know, but this is important. She followed me outside to the parking lot. I didn't want to cause a scene inside, and something in her voice told me she came loaded with drama. She always did. When we were alone, she opened the folder and handed me a stack of papers. You're not going to believe me, she started, but everything, it wasn't just what you think. I looked down at the documents. Financial statements. Withdrawals. A wire transfer to a name I didn't recognize. What is this? It's why I needed Danny. He helped me fix something I couldn't tell you about. Something from before you and I even got married. I laughed. A dry, humorless sound. You want me to believe the man you've been sneaking off to see helped you for my benefit? She stepped closer. Nate, I owed someone money. Bad people. Danny, he's connected. He helped me. I couldn't tell you because they threatened to go after you. The gall of this woman. UF*** get him to protect me? Is that the story now? Her face twitched. Not in shame, in frustration. Like she was mad the lie wasn't working. I didn't plan for it to happen, okay? It just did. I was scared. You looked terrified when you were moaning into his mouth on that couch. She bit her lip, realizing the trap she'd walked into. You watched. I watched everything. You don't get to play the victim here, Madison. The truth was, it didn't even matter anymore. The lies, the half-truths, the fantasy world she built, it was all rotten to the core. There was nothing left to salvage. I'm not trying to get you back, she said softly. Good. She paused. I'm trying to warn you. That caught me off guard. Warn me. There's more, she whispered. Zach, he's not who you think. He knew about the cameras. What cameras? The ones I told him to install around the house. For security, remember? Except he added his own. Inside, my pulse kicked up. You're telling me Zach was spying on us? She nodded. And not just us. He recorded things. Sold them. That's how this all started. I owed him money. I paid him to erase it. I took a step back, staring at her like I'd never seen her before. You let our private life become content? I didn't mean to. I didn't know at first. I found out too late. And by then, I was already in too deep. I wanted to scream. Break something. Shake her until the truth fell out in broken pieces. But I didn't. I turned around, walked to my car, and said without looking back, tell your lawyer everything. I'm done speaking to you directly. She reached for my arm, but I was faster. You're poison, Madison. I loved you, she said, almost shouting. At least I did at the start. I slammed the door and drove off. I didn't even see her in the mirror. I didn't want to. 3 nights later, I was woken up by someone banging on my door like it was on fire. I rolled out of bed, heart pounding, half thinking it was her again. Another performance, another twist in her theater of manipulation. But when I opened the door, it wasn't Madison. It was Jake, my brother, and he looked like he'd seen a ghost. You need to come with me, he said, no greeting, no explanation. I pulled on a hoodie and followed him down to his truck. It wasn't until we were halfway across town that he spoke again. It's about Zach. I didn't say a word. I just stared ahead, jaw locked. He was found outside his house. Beaten. Bad. He's in the ICU. I blinked. What the hell happened? Jake glanced at me. Police think it was a robbery, but I don't buy it. We pulled into the hospital parking lot, and my stomach turned. Not from sympathy, from the chaos that kept following me like a shadow. This wasn't over. Not even close. Inside, the nurse wouldn't let us into the room, but she gave us the rundown. Head trauma, broken ribs, possible internal bleeding, and worst of all, no wallet, no phone. The cops thought it was a mugging gone wrong, but Jake wasn't buying it. And honestly, neither was I, because Zach wasn't the type to walk into danger unarmed. He had connections, friends, cameras, backup plans, and yet, there he was, barely breathing. You think Madison had something to do with this? Jake asked me outside by the vending machines. I think Madison starts problems, I said. But I think someone else just finished one. We didn't say anything for a while. Then Jake handed me something he'd pulled from Zach's mailbox earlier, an envelope addressed to me. No return name, just my name written in all caps. I opened it. Inside, a USB drive and a single photograph. Madison, sitting on a hotel bed, robe half open, holding a glass of wine and smiling at the camera. Not looking seductive. Looking satisfied. I didn't even want to plug in the drive, but I knew I would. Back at my apartment, I poured a drink, straight whiskey, no ice, and stared at the flash drive like it was a time bomb. Then I plugged it in. Folders, labeled by dates. Some going back over a year. I opened the first one. Clips. Footage. Inside my house. The living room. The hallway. Our bedroom. He'd been watching us. Every kiss. Every argument. Every silent dinner. And worse, he watched her with them. She brought them there. Into my home. Into our bed. Danny. Chris. A couple of faces I didn't even recognize. Zach had been her voyeur. Her blackmailer. Her insurance. And he was going to expose her. Or me. Or both. I leaned back, heart pounding like it wanted out of my chest. And that's when I realized the drive wasn't for me to watch. It was a warning. Whoever beat Zach half to death wanted me to see this. Wanted me to know what was on the line. Maybe Madison sent it. Maybe someone else. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about leverage. About danger. About cleaning up loose ends. I stared at the paused video of Madison laughing on our couch with some tattooed idiot's hand up her shirt and whispered to myself, what the hell did I get dragged into? That night, I didn't sleep. I changed all my passwords, ordered cameras for the apartment, texted my lawyer, and told him we needed to meet first thing in the morning. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I was scared, not for my heart, not for my pride, for my life. Because Madison didn't just lie. She built a trap. And I was standing right in the middle of it. The next morning, I met with my lawyer, Tom, a no-bullshit, divorce-hardened guy who'd seen more dirty tricks than a Vegas card table. When I handed him the USB drive, he didn't even flinch. Where did you get this? He asked, sliding it into his laptop without hesitation. It was in Zach's mailbox, I said. with my name on it. He nodded, opened the files, and watched for exactly 45 seconds before slamming the lid shut. Jesus, he muttered. She's toast. You're walking away with everything. House, car, alimony's off the table. Judges hate this kind of circus, especially when it's documented like a Netflix docuseries. I didn't react. The win felt empty. This doesn't stay in court, does it? I asked. Tom looked at me. You mean the fallout? No. Something like this, it leaks. It always leaks. These guys she was with, they're not ghosts. They've got jobs, wives, reputations. Somebody will find this footage. Somebody will talk. And the guy who filmed it. I said, Zach's in a hospital bed with his skull cracked. Tom paused. You think she had it done? I think she made enemies, I replied. And I think they're cleaning up. Tom leaned back, eyes narrowing. You need to disappear for a bit. Disappear? Take time off. Go somewhere. Lay low. The last thing you need is to be part of a scandal that involves blackmail, assault, and hidden cameras. I exhaled. She hasn't stopped calling. Block her. I did. She used burner numbers. Sent emails. Voice notes. One of them said, please pick up. I think someone's following me. Tom raised an eyebrow. You believe her? I shrugged. I don't believe a word that comes out of her mouth. But fear? That's hard to fake. He looked me dead in the eyes. Don't save her. Not this time. She burned the bridge. Let it stay ashes. That night, I sat in the dark again. My apartment was small, safe, and smelled like paint and silence. I kept checking the hallway through the peephole, half expecting to see Madison or someone worse. At 2:14 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Then a text popped up. You really think this ends with a divorce? That was it. No name. No threats. Just that. I stared at it for a long time. Then another one followed. You took something from me. I'm taking something from you. I forwarded the messages to Tom and the police contact he gave me. Then I locked the front door, shoved a chair under the knob, and sat by the window with my old baseball bat. Paranoia isn't just for the guilty. It's for the betrayed, for the blindsided, for the fools who gave everything to someone who saw them as disposable. At 3:37 a.m., I got another message. A photo. It was my brother's car, parked outside his house, taken from a low angle like someone was crouched behind a bush. No words. No explanation. My chest tightened. They weren't after me anymore. They were after my family. I jumped up, grabbed my keys, and called Jake on the way to his place. He didn't pick up. I called again. Still nothing. I floored it, heart hammering like a drum solo. When I got there, the street was quiet. Too quiet. His lights were off. No movement. No dog barking. No flicker of the TV. Just darkness. I banged on the door. Nothing. Then I saw it, taped to the window. A piece of paper. One line. Should have picked up. I kicked the door in. Rushed through every room, yelling Jake's name. He wasn't there. Neither was his wife. Neither were their kids. The house was empty, but not untouched. In the living room, a laptop sat open, playing one of the videos from the USB. My house. My wife. Her fake moans echoing through my brother's home. And written on the screen in red text was a message. This is only the beginning. I dropped to my knees. Because now, it wasn't just my marriage that was destroyed. It was my whole life unraveling. Thread by bloody thread. I called the police. Tried to stay calm, give them the facts, not sound like a lunatic unraveling. But every second my brother wasn't picking up, every ring that went to voicemail, I felt like my skin was peeling off from the inside. The operator asked if there were signs of forced entry. There weren't. That's what made it worse. Whoever had come, they had a key, or they were invited. The cops showed up 20 minutes later, lights flashing, voices professional, hands hovering over holsters. I walked them through the house, the empty bedrooms, the untouched kitchen, the laptop, the note. I could see the shift in their posture when they read the red text on the screen. This some kind of domestic threat, one of them asked. Something like that, I said. I think it started with my wife. Or ex-wife. He raised an eyebrow. You think she's involved? I didn't know how to answer that. Was she still involved? Or had she just built a world that finally turned on her? While the officers checked the property, I called Tom again. He answered immediately. Where are you? He said, no greeting. Jake's house. He's gone. So is his whole family. There was a note, and someone left one of the USB videos playing on his laptop, like they wanted me to see it. Tom was quiet for a beat. You're going to a hotel tonight. Not home. Don't tell anyone where. I'll arrange private security. This has gone past divorce. You're into something else now. I think it's Madison, I said. I think she's scared because she knows who's doing this. Then she's next, Tom replied. And if she goes down, she might take you with her, just to pull someone else into the fire. An hour later, I checked into a hotel under a fake name Tom gave me. 2 guards stationed near the elevators. One by the lobby. I sat on the edge of the bed and finally allowed myself to feel what I'd been stuffing down for weeks. Grief, rage, humiliation. I married a woman who could wear betrayal like silk, who let other men desecrate our life while I picked up groceries and made dinner. And now, somehow, I was the one paying for her choices. At 1:11 a.m., my phone lit up again. Blocked number. I stared at it for a long time, then answered. It was her. Her voice was shaking. Real panic this time. Nate, they're following me. I didn't say anything. I didn't know it would go this far. I thought Zach was just bluffing. I thought if I gave him what he wanted, he'd delete the footage. What did he want? I asked, voice flat. Control, she said, almost a whisper. Not money. Not even just blackmail. He liked owning things. People. Me. You let him film us. I didn't know at first. Then I found out. And he said if I told you, he'd release everything. My job, my reputation, it would all go up. It did go up, I snapped. Silence. Then, softer. They're coming for you now, Nate. Because you have the originals. The drive. The videos. You think I care anymore? You should. Because they don't want money either. They want silence. The line clicked. Disconnected. I stared at the phone like it might explode in my hand. The last trace of her voice hung in the air like a stain. I didn't sleep that night. Just waited, staring at the door, the windows, every shadow that twitched. Because this wasn't just a scandal. It wasn't just cheating. It was war. And I didn't know the rules anymore. Or who was still playing. By the end of that week, I was running on black coffee, paranoia, and whatever adrenaline comes from knowing someone might be watching you every time you blink. Tom had pulled strings, lawyers, favors, a contact in cybercrime. And they traced some of the USB footage back to an encrypted drive that wasn't just sitting in Zach's possession. There were backups. Distributed. Sold. Maybe even live-streamed. And if that was true, this wasn't just personal anymore. This was criminal. International, maybe. Exploitation, extortion, deep web level S***T. And at the center of it? Madison. Not because she masterminded it, but because she was the willing face of it. A woman so obsessed with attention, validation, and power, she never noticed the hands tightening around her throat until it was too late. 3 days later, Madison was found. Not dead. That would have been simple. That would have tied the bow on this nightmare and let me breathe again. No. Madison was found hiding in a roadside motel outside Tucson. Hair chopped, ID fake, and a phone filled with voice memos she never sent. Like she'd been documenting her own descent for someone. Maybe for me. The feds picked her up after she flagged down a highway patrol claiming someone was trying to kill her. They questioned her for 12 hours. I got a call the next day. You're clear, Tom said. They've got enough to move forward without dragging you through this circus any more than you've already been. I didn't answer. Not right away. Because I didn't feel clear. I didn't feel anything. It was like walking out of a burning house, covered in soot and blood, only to realize you never saved anything that mattered. You just survived. Jake and his family were okay. They'd gone off-grid for safety after seeing strangers watching their house. He finally called me from a blocked number, told me to stay out of it, and said he'd call when it was safe. I didn't blame him. I wouldn't want me around either. And Madison? She took a plea deal. 6 years. Maybe less with good behavior. She cried in court. Claimed she was manipulated. Said the men used her, blackmailed her, turned her into something she wasn't. But I knew better. Madison was always exactly who she showed herself to be. The robe. The smirk. The lies. The way she said, "Tonight I'm going to a party at my ex-husband's place," like it was a punchline, not a warning. I never visited her in prison. Never responded to her letters. I heard she got beat up once. Some other woman didn't like the way she looked at her. Poetic. And me? I moved to a different city. New job. New apartment. Still couldn't look at red stilettos without flinching, but I was breathing again. Sleeping more than 3 hours a night. Sometimes, I even smiled at strangers. Not because I was happy, but because I wasn't broken anymore. You don't come out of something like that whole. You come out sharp, dangerous, smarter. And if there's one thing I learned from Madison, it's this. Some people don't just lie with words. They lie with their whole being. Their smile, their silence, their love. So if you're reading this, and you've got that gut feeling, that ache behind your ribs, that whisper in your head telling you something's wrong, believe it, before it turns into fire, before your whole life becomes footage on someone else's screen.